Yeah. Who got more spirit than the liquor store? This ATLians and Iron Man with a liquid sword. So if we chest boxing, I'ma need a bigger board. Black and white tiles like it's Masonic temple floors. Motherfuckers need to listen more. That was a triple score. By my second bar, I had them insecure. When women hear my voice, it hits they inner core like intercourse. They stripping more than Demi Moore for me to say this dick is yours. Even had a couple tell me they would get divorced. Turned me off like tripping over power strip extension cords. Bitch, hit the door. Hey, they been had a travel ban on these niggas from Atlantistan. They soldiers pull us over like we in the Taliban. Not Packy, but the SWAT's like SWAT Valley. When they approaching your box caddy with the Glock handy. I seen people doing time over pot baggies. Distribution charges on top of they rock candy. And it don't mean shit just because the cops snappy. Listen, boy, they send you to prison to rock gladly. I'm a pillar in my community who still walk around like a killer with immunity. But no sinner has impunity. I'm the proof like liquor, nigga, there's no diluting me. Hey, it's your brain off a golden grain, toxin double up about the tracks when you see me train spotting. Everybody don't subscribe, but you see they stay watching. Fucking name dropping, that's for you lames who ain't popping. The homie Chris said my style growing in dog years. If you tick me off, you better flee when I draw near. When money talks, I'm like a cornfield, boy, I'm all ears. Sure to be the last one standing when this fog clears, yeah.
Yes. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Houseless Podcast. I'm Peter Yassin, your host. Thank you for tuning in. Recording this live in Brooklyn, New York on Daylight Savings Time. You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys so much. We have a great episode for you today. Great conversation with a good dude from Atlanta, my man Yamin Somali. Before we had this conversation, I always kind of knew him as Amdex, producer DJ from the Vinyl Junkie crew, VJCs. And if you might not be familiar with them, you know, it's like a collective of guys sort of split between Los Angeles and Atlanta for the most part, who I've known for a long, long time. If you guys know my record label or my pseudo semi-defunct label, Female Fun Records, you know, I did a couple compilations that had a great MC, a great lyricist, and writer by the name of Some Kid on those. And that was my introduction to that group. So shouts to Some Kid, an amazing slept-on rapper, writer. And through him, I met all the guys in that group. So it's kind of this, it's an interesting East Coast, West Coast kind of group of guys. They did one album called Strange Arrangement. They came out in the kind of early to mid 2000s. That's on iTunes. I saw it's on iTunes. You should check it out. It's a great like ensemble type of hip hop album. So Yamin though had been coming through New York City where we recorded this, here in Brooklyn at my crib, and he had just gotten off a tour in Europe. Really his debut European tour, opening up for Cunning Linguists, and he was basically holding down the whole show, DJing, opening up, rhyming as first to three, and DJing for all the acts on the bill. So we talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about Atlanta, we talk about the Vinyl Junkies, we talk about his tour, his solo career. I open and I will close with joints of a brand new record he just put out, called the Hot EP, or as I like to refer it, the Hotep. And you can find that on Bandcamp right now. In fact, if you check it out, I would put it as, yaminsomali.bandcamp.com. So YAMINSEMALI. If you didn't already be able to read that from this actual episode text. But check it out, it's dope. Is brand new. So I initially knew him mostly as a producer and a DJ, and then he also was rhyming and would become now more and more known as a rapper, as an MC. So anyway, we talk about a lot of that stuff. I don't want to get too far into describing it for you guys. I'd like to think that if you've never heard of him before, this will be a nice treat and a great introduction to a new artist that's been kind of on the scene in Atlanta for a long time. He lived in LA for a minute, So be a cool introduction to someone that's kind of been doing it for a while, but at the same time still kind of bubbling up from the underground, and absolutely worth your time. He had a duo for a long time too called Clandestine that made some great records in the earlier 2000s, mid 2000s. So all worth checking out, just like checking out the Houseless podcast. So here's the deal. If this is your first time listening, I got to say some of this stuff. Thank you first for tuning in. Second, if you enjoy this and these episodes that I produce, please, by all means, spread the word. Tell a friend and copy and paste the link. You can post it on Facebook, wherever. I'm on Twitter as far as social media goes, specifically for this podcast, at Houseless Pod. You can also find the podcast on SoundCloud, the Stitcher app, Google Play, and of course iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe, rate it, leave a comment, all that stuff. Some episodes I don't promote it as much, some episodes I do. I like to think that I need to be a little more proactive about it just because I want to get the word out, you know what I'm saying? And I think that I keep trying to mix up the episodes as far as the type of people I talk to, both regionally and hopefully genre-wise or sub-genre-wise. And if you know me, Peter Augustin, I've been doing this for a very long time. I had a record label for many years. In fact, very recently I re-released an album by Prince Paul, the legendary producer, of course, of De La Soul, Gravediggers, Handsome Boy Modeling School, Stetsasonic, called It's True Mental, which just dropped last month on a very limited piece of vinyl, which you can cop now, get it at Turntable Lab or Fat Beats, wherever you buy vinyl. If your local physical brick and mortar record store doesn't carry it, tell them to. So, I want that Prince Paul. So anyway, I'll plug, I don't want to plug too much shit. But I will say this, I do this for the love. It's a free thing. There's no Patreon yet. I don't have anything kind of set up like that. Although I'm venturing closer and closer to that, because I do need, this is a listener supported podcast radio. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't have someone to bankroll this. I'm not working out of a studio. You can obviously hear the cars driving by on the street. I'm doing this in the living room, the same place that I recorded this interview, the same microphone I'm doing both of these on. So just a little context for you as we jump into this conversation. Every episode is edited and engineered by my man CJ Stewart out in California. So shout out to him. Shouts to the whole Vinyl Junkie crew. And yeah, what else can I say, man? Let's just jump right into this conversation with my man Amdex. I'm not putting him on blast, but better known to y'all as Yamin Somali here on the Houseless Podcast. Check it out, y'all. Peace. This is what I do. I mean, it's pretty casual, although, and we can just jump right into it as well.
Okay.
Although, occasionally you might need to lean in a little bit, but I will be like this.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of like a good way to jump into this too, because one, I haven't seen you in a really long time. And probably, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably well over 10 years.
I would think, yeah, because I came up for CMJ in like 05.
Okay.
So that might have been the very last time. And I remember a flyer. It wasn't a Nobody Hole party, was it?
Oh, you know what? No, but if I'm not mistaken, I know exactly what show you're talking about, which was it was CMJ before it really started. Anyone did anything in Brooklyn, because it was Sum's party, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yep. Which was I forgot the name of the bar.
Mecca, not Mecca.
Was that a place that definitely no longer exists?
It had a patio in the back. The back. I remember Tyson Beckford showed up.
Exactly.
You remember that? Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Because at that time, very randomly, me and his brother got cool. We had like mutual friends, and his brother worked at either I'm pretty sure it was Bombay Sapphire. He was like a rep for Bombay Sapphire Gin, and he because I think I don't know if I was working at the knitting factory yet, but I was doing some parties, and I don't even remember how we met, but he was always like, if you ever have a party, let me know. I'll bring some cases of gin to the party and shit. And I was like, sure. My buddy's got one coming up for CMJ, and I think I was even like, yo, man, if you think you can get your brother to come to this party.
That's how that happened. Huh?
Exactly. It was like a very like matter of fact thing. And looking back at it, I mean, it was like basically like a little bar.
Yeah.
You know?
Was that Billyburg? Where was
Yeah, it was in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
It was on like North 7th and Wythe, at a place that has turned over a couple of times. This is like a long, narrow bar, and I remember it was like Vinyl Junkie. Maybe it was a Nobody Hole party, which is some kids album or thing. Mm-hmm. I think Dulio, my buddy Dulio from Connecticut, I think he DJ'd or he was on the bill. Mm-hmm. And I know, I vaguely remember it, but I definitely remember Tyson Beckford just like hanging out, and of course, you know, every woman in the place gravitated immediately to him. It's kind of an anomaly that he would just be at this party.
Yeah, I looked up from the decks and I was just like, that's Tyson, man. New York moment, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so then obviously a lot has happened since that point in time, too. One, New York has changed dramatically. Mm-hmm. But I think the time even before that was when I saw you in California, if you came up to Humboldt.
Yeah. Did I? I don't know if I made that trip, man.
The only reason why I asked that too, was that there's a music video for Strange Arrangement.
Yeah.
Because there's different stuff.
It was a hodgepodge of footage because we really didn't shoot a video. It was just like footage of us at random points.
Right. It was like there's some road trip type stuff in there, and some of it I know was part of that trip to Humboldt.
Trip, yeah, I wasn't on that leg.
Okay, gotcha.
I did. That's why. Okay, now I understand where that came from. I rarely even make it up. That's like Northern California, right?
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 hours north of San Francisco.
Yeah, I've only been to like Mendocino and Eureka and stuff.
Right. It's Eureka, where our show was at, was in Eureka. Yeah.
Totally. That was like recent. That was like 2011 or something.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I was doing some trimming with a guy.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, you know how you go there.
Absolutely. I lived there for 5 years, so I know that world all too well.
Yeah,
for sure.
We'll leave names out, but I'm sure you know some of the same folks.
Sure.
Probably, man. Just because it's like real community.
Yeah.
But word, man. Yeah, that was all. If you saw me in that video, it was all from like Kenneth Hahn Park, and it was all LA stuff.
Right.
And
so did you live there? Did you actually live there for a while?
Yeah, I lived there in 06 to 07. And it was a stint, you know. I was really kind of concerned about. Me and DT had just finished our first album. We had a distribution deal with Domination. And shout out to DJ Fisher.
Right, DJ Fisher, who I know very well too from that period of time as well.
Yeah, man.
So for people that don't know, that group was Clandestine. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was me and DT. It was like the duo, the two youngest dudes in the Vinyl Junkies, and you know, kind of like F the World, ATL rap, but you know. A lot of stuff that we did is kind of like what people do now as far as like production styles with just like a lot of hi-hats and shit. but we was rapping, you know. We didn't do it on every track either, but it was just real. It was young. We was really figuring stuff out.
Yeah, no, I want to talk about that group a little bit too because but kind of going back first. So you were in LA during that kind of general period of time.
Yeah. Me and DT met in 03 at Morehouse. I didn't go to Morehouse, but I used to DJ at Morehouse. Okay. And a brief aside about that, I used to DJ at this thing called Underground Live. Uh-huh. And friends of mine took it over. But when I was just coming off this last tour with Cunning Linguist, I found out that Sean King, who's like really big now in like social media and the social justice world, and Deacon from Cunning Linguist, they actually started that shit, and I didn't even know that. I had no clue. And so I really learned a piece of the puzzle of how I even ended up DJing at Morehouse. But Felix from the Vinyl Junkies was the RA of the dorm area where DT came in as a freshman.
Cool.
And he was like, man, you guys will hit it off because he makes beats, he raps, he's a young dude, a lot of spirit. And we met, and that was kind of how everything jumped off. Me and Felix were roommates, and we had just cut up some vinyl. You remember that, the Vinyl Junkies little EP we put out?
Yep. With
Thinking About by Pudge, and moved to the I'm like showing my age, like forgetting song titles and shit, but it was like 3 or 4 songs from the Vinyl Junkies, Some Kid, me, X-Row, Pudge, Mario, X-Man. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how it all started, just kind of cutting our teeth at the same time.
Right. So that's, I guess essentially that was what I was trying to get to, was the origin because that's really how I know you, really from that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the first person I really met out of that was Some, who was kind of like I guess maybe the first one to essentially do like a solo album or whatever.
Yeah, the Little Folk.
Right.
He was making rounds. He worked at Frank Magazine, and he was meeting a lot of people. He was the one that was like more branching out. Because I guess, the Vinyl Junkie started in L.A. in like 96.
Oh, so it didn't start in Atlanta?
No, it started in Cali with X-Row and DJ Rare Groove. And, there was like a lot of people who came out of like The Good Life and Project Blow.
Yep.
That was all their scene. And like Double K from People Under the Stairs and shit. Like they all went to high school together. And, they went to college in Atlanta at the AUC. So Felix was at Morehouse. X-Row was at Morris Brown. He was at Morehouse as well, and they all kind of clicked up there. I kind of came into the fold because I just started DJing in '99. I was 15, and I saw a flyer for a thing where you can come out and DJ at this park, which I live right down the street from now, called Adams Park, and that's where I met everybody. And that was my first time DJing outside the house. So I just was kind of looking for, some community, because I was like always the hip hop guy around my way as far as being 15 years old, high school, listening to Wu-Tang. But I was also listening to like South Circle and like Suave House and Outkast and Big Mike, and we liked everything. But I was probably one of the first people in my neighborhood in East Point that really wanted to pursue it. So meeting them was like everything to me. Vinyl Junkies really birthed my like creative process.
Did you just roll there solo, like not really knowing anyone or anything like that?
Yeah, I talked to X-Row on the phone, and I was like, "Yo, I'm 15. I just want to spin." He was like, "Well, play me something." It's like landline phones and shit.
Just play me something. Put the phone to the speaker.
Yeah. Like I had this little bullshit Gemini mixer. I think it was a 676. And it had that sampler on it, the little push button loop.
Oh, yeah, you do the loops with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I looped up like Juvenile High instrumental and played. I got like a bunch of bullshit 12 inches for free at some party. So I had like, I ain't trying to shit on nobody, but I had like Ja Rule, Holla Holla. And I took the acapella and put it over the high beat. And, I was getting into Raucous Records and shit like that, but I was learning the game as far as like where you get free records from, how you get free records. And,
sure.
And I just used what I had. And he was like, play this. I hadn't been DJing for nothing more than maybe like, that party was in, it was around this time, like November 1st, I think. So it was around this time of year. I had started DJing in March. So I was really like a real noob. And, but me and X-Row, he put me on the DITC. And he also worked at Red Distribution, which was doing all the Loud Records stuff.
Right. Which was in like North Carolina or something, or
That's a good question.
I don't remember them. I remember people at that time, those years, there was a lot of work distro coming out of them.
Red
was in New York too, maybe Sony Red.
I think it was in like majorly, but in Atlanta there was an office that had a lot of. It was like a hub, they had like a lot of wax there. Dude, my homie Jason Rimmer worked there, and it was on Druid Hills. North Druid Hills is over there, where Briarcliff and North Druid Hills meets. And
so would you go there and they'd break you off with records?
Yeah, and X-Row would put me on missions. He would send me to clubs and give DJs records. I was 16 and I was getting into all kind of clubs I wasn't supposed to be getting into. Strip clubs, whatever, MJQ, SOs and shit like that, like Jaguars and shit. Like I was going to certain clubs and the dudes at the door would get to know my face and they wouldn't trip. They'd be like, "Oh, go ahead,"
So who were the DJs that you were kind of bringing records to, or that you were associating with, like at that time?
Man, DJ Rasta Root is one of the biggest ones. He's like Tribe's manager, Fife's manager.
Yeah.
He used to come to the office a lot too. He was actually X-Row kicked off this party called Club Loud, where he would break whatever the new Loud release was, whether Pun or 3-6 Mafia or Wu-Tang, and Rasta Root would DJ the event. I met him. I met Nabs around that period of time. I know Nabs is a legend in Atlanta.
Yeah.
DJ Kemet. The dudes from Earwax Records like Jazz and Talib Shabazz.
Was Applejack, is he from Atlanta?
Yeah. I met him at a park jam that actually X-Row put together. It was like a Vinyl Junkies type thing. We had like a nice cookout. And that was like 99, 2000, something like that. And he's an East Side guy, and that party was on the East Side. So
cool.
Yeah, it was cool, man. And it's kind of full circle now because I'm like at Scratch Academy in Atlanta teaching, and JC is there, and him and Soul Messiah and Applejack, they all came up together. And, you know, these are dudes that have kind of, like, been around me over half my life now, you know. Right. So, yeah, like, a lot of the inception of me meeting the right people at the right time kind of pushed me further, too. I'm trying to think of any other DJs, like...
well, I remember a dude named DJ Mafioso.
Oh, hell yeah. I talked to him. I just talked to him yesterday. That's like my homie from forever, man.
Right.
He was the first person who actually recorded me. Well, I did a remix project.
Yeah, well, I wanted to see if you remember this, because this might have been from the first time I ever met you, but I got this.
Oh, Mafioso recorded this shit. The Tomorrow's yesterday. You still got this. Wow.
It's crispy mint, too.
This is like a Nardwuar moment.
Well, sometimes, you know, when I have people come over, too, just to, because you never know what stories could come out of those, too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I listened to this earlier today, and some of those records still hold up.
They're not shabby.
The Frontin' remix is quite good.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, and
funny story.
both the Outkast ones are hold up too. Roses is pretty amazing.
Thank you, man. Yeah, the Brother Jack McDuff sample. Man, you know what's funny about this shit? I had just got this phone number. This is actually still my number, but it's the wrong area code.
Okay.
770, and the rest of the number is still my phone number. So
interesting. That's crazy.
I remember I gave this shit to Sleepy Brown.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, man. And then I got home and looked at it. I was like, fuck. Because my old number used to have 404. 770 was
so
kind of...
it's a straight typo.
Yeah, it was like 770 is relatively new. Like 404 is what I grew up having all my life until around this period. So, wow. It has theFinalJunkies.com. Damn, bro. This is crazy. I think I might have one of these left. Maybe one.
Yeah, I mean, this is, hold on. I had to rip apart my apartment to find this shit, though, by the way. It wasn't just like floating around.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I get over the years from a lot of artists, where especially when they were like the CDRs or the demos or things like this, like I always hold on to this stuff because, it's just, how many of these do you think you even made? Like 100 maybe?
Like 100, bro. Like it wasn't a whole lot of those, man. That's crazy to me. That's
you look like a young buck. Yeah, that's for sure, man.
That's the picture on the inside is of the attic in my mom's house that I sold like 4 years ago.
So was that where you were like kind of originally had your home set up?
Yeah, that's East Point. That's 2 blocks from Tri-Cities High School. That's like a world famous high school, I guess you could say.
Did you go there?
Yeah. That's where Outkast went and Escape. It's a lot of people like Kenan Thompson went there.
Yeah.
It's a performing arts school,
right.
And it's also a visual art school. I was in the visual art department, and so I used to do like sculpture and watercolors and all that shit.
Did you lay that out too?
This right here? Yeah. I forgot the brother's name who did it, man. I wish I remembered his name. He was really cool. I had like a lot. I was really green. I had like a manager back then, right?
Did you?
And I think that dude kind of did some bad business with the guy who did the art. It was, of course, it was like not a major deal, but for somebody's time for putting that together,
right.
I think he got stiffed, and I apologize.
Well, that's hopefully that wasn't too traumatizing.
I'm sure he probably don't even remember. Right. I just know I was like, damn, like okay, I gotta watch who's watching me.
Do you still ever use the Amdex name?
No.
When did you retire that?
That had to be like right before me and DT put out our last album, so that was 2011. Right. So 2010, I think that's when around the time I cut my dreads off. Yeah, because
so the Index stuff, as far as what you produced under that name, is a lot of the Vinyl Junkies era material. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty much aligned with that. And I actually still got that name under BMI, so I could still use it as a pseudonym or whatever, just so because it's easier to not confuse that with my initial last name. Cause
but how do you pronounce your last name?
Peak is my original, like my government, but Somali, that's. I haven't even, like, whenever I get around to revamping my business, as far as the LLC with the publishing, that's when I'll probably get that, like, more official.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's something I've been, wrapping my head around now. Next time I go on tour, before I go on tour again in the spring, I really want to have that, like, legitimized.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a good way to kind of start that chapter, like, officially.
With, like taxes and shit. Like, I don't do none of that shit right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing to eventually kind of tackle.
You have to, because, you got to pay to play, in a certain sense, if you want to have, protections, and you want to take advantage of laws that could fuck around and bankrupt your personal life.
Well, yeah, especially if you're an artist, when you're managing yourself or you're doing mid-sized business, so you got to be extra careful because every dollar counts too, man, in a lot of ways, and just being educated on that stuff too, So
pretty much everything I do is a write-off, and I don't even.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
Clothes you buy, that's for it's wardrobe for your show. Like food, lunch, business meetings. Like a lot of shit is really. It's up to you to just monetize your life. That's something I've just, as a more of an adult now, I've kind of just taken more account, of that. So that's
and it's there to be done. No one, you're totally entitled and capable of doing it. It's not like it's all fully legal, but it just takes being, actually sourcing your way through it.
Diligent and having like a routine. Like one of the first people I ever knew to do that personally, and he's like my age, and this is years ago, is Senior Kaus.
Oh yes, another Atlanta cat, right? Yeah. I haven't seen that guy in a million years as well.
He's doing pretty well, man.
Yeah.
He's in Oregon. He's in Portland with Nike.
Really?
Yeah, he's designing kicks.
Dope.
And, that's his passion. That's always, even when we was roommates for a brief period, he had the orange boxes to the sky,
No way, okay.
And he's actually a part of the company now. And he actually put out some really ill, I think there was some Bo Jacksons that had like the 96 Olympic colors for Atlanta. And man, like, he just knows what he's doing. He's right where he needs to be. That's shout out to that dude, man.
Yeah, I still have this MF Doom album he did.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
That was another of that era of like the kind of CDR, slim CDR, limited release type shit.
Yeah, his Child's Play album, I'm on that joint. That was like a Japan only release. He was ahead of the curve, man. Like to be like in his early 20s, when he was in his early 20s, he was doing a lot of dope shit. He soaked up game from the right people. Cognito and about the promotions and just brothers who I still talk to this day. And
Cognito's got a great thing going on too with his stuff with Spinna. And but I mean, I've always had a lot of respect for him just from Mass Influence.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man.
Great group.
Yeah, like originators and real trailblazers for Atlanta hip hop. And do they get their just due? I don't think a lot of people who do shit first get their just due. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you there. I could speak up firsthand to that. But no, I'm just saying. But also, especially for Mass Influence too, because of I think. And this sort of might be a good bridge into this because I do want to talk about Atlanta a little bit. Cool. Like I've only been there a handful of times. I grew up in Virginia though, but that the way that the hip hop music, I guess, first scene and then the industry is like has a lot of different chapters and sort of factions to it too. Yeah. And speaking at least of the one part where of the piece of the puzzle really with Mass Influence and of that era, like when Fat Beats was in Atlanta and so on, and the Spearhead X, and like, I think that the history of that doesn't really get a lot of coverage whatsoever. Nah. But those guys were really like, well, one, just them as a group were really, they made great songs, very well produced material. I remember seeing them a few times. I actually filmed the whole concert of theirs in San Francisco in 1998 or 1999, and super high energy. That Run DMC. They came out to the joint, but for you, I think you're at a vantage point too, maybe to speak on this too, because you sort of started at a young age, right? So you saw a little bit of that. You saw that era, and then the stuff from the '90s that was before that. Then obviously everything that's happening like right now. So they're all very different in a lot of ways. Man,
way different. I mean, it's just like the weather in Atlanta. The saying is, if you don't like the weather in Atlanta, wait 5 minutes. Right. That's kind of a way to look at the industry itself and just the style of music. It just continues to change a lot. I remember DJ Toomp was talking about how a big factor that changed the Garden in Atlanta was the fact that like a lot of check writers left Atlanta. Like L.A. Reid, he went to Arista in New York, and just certain shit like that. It went from being like we got budgets from all this great R&B music to make rap music to fend for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, sell it out to Trump.
Right.
And it's almost like it's almost like when Napster kind of took over, like that type of shit. Like, it kind of destabilized the industry. People had to come up with other ways to get heard, and a lot of stuff went really back to the streets really fast.
Right.
So even with people now who have a lot of influence from the 90s, when you had big budgets and you had gatekeepers, so to speak, even those people have to be legitimized now by the streets, by mixtape culture, you know what I'm saying, by what kids are listening to, more or less, you know what I mean? Like, you'll probably hear like an Andre 3000 verse on, for instance, like, you know, he did like the White Tea remix or something, right? Like, he people reach back in Atlanta because everything changes. You can't sit on your laurels in Atlanta and consider yourself like, I'm just a legend, I'm good, you know?
Right. Even for someone like Andre, who seems impervious to like that whole like music industry as a whole.
Yeah, well, he's a unicorn though.
Right.
I mean, he'll be all right.
Yes.
But you know, just certain stuff you have to stay abreast of in Atlanta, man. Like,
right.
And man, like even like 2 Chainz, something like that. He's on his second career.
That's right.
You know,
what was the first group? Players Circle was like, well, that might even be before,
even with like
earlier.
Disturbing the Peace when he was Titty Boy and stuff.
Right.
Like, he basically reinvented himself, and you have to do that. And maybe Atlanta's a microcosm. Maybe I'm not trying to sound too specific to Atlanta. Like, maybe everybody should do that.
Right.
But especially in Atlanta, I think it's really important. You know, even me, look, I changed my name. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to grow there, man. To me, it's the city of change. You know, it's just different, man. You talked about like when Fat Beats was around, and you know, today's the death anniversary of the homie Jax, and he used to work there.
Wow, today is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 9 years, man. You know,
God.
I gotta say, man, you know, Binkus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So slept on.
So yeah, dudes. I mean, them and Mass Influence, you know, they were traveling and touring and cutting wax and fucking with Bobbito and you know what I'm saying? Just like they really had a big sway in the hip hop community abroad and just you know, worldwide, to a point where you could see yourself like, damn, I can do this. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had a space to do their own thing, and I think Atlanta used to be a little bit more varied with what was popular. Like, now it's like you pretty much hear trap music 24/7. Like 8 o'clock in the morning on the radio, they playing trap music.
Yeah.
And you know, if I had any critique at all about my city, I would say I wish it was more balanced, like it kind of used to be. But you know, Rowdy Records did great things. You know, Dallas Austin, like you said, Spearhead X was at Rowdy for a while. He was producing for De La Soul.
Yeah. He did amazing stuff on Stasis High.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he did Long Island Degrees, I believe.
I
joint
think so.
he did. And you know,
but Rowdy Records was a great label too. Was Illegal from Atlanta? The group Illegal?
Yeah, I do remember that group.
Jamal,
they were from
Malik.
Jersey, I think.
Okay.
But they had a foothold there.
Sure.
Through Rowdy. You know, like Eric Sermon came to Atlanta. You know.
So was Eric Sermon, not to interrupt you, but I was thinking about this too before you came. It's specifically about like this kind of evolution of Atlanta, because it does seem like it's like every year it's in this kind of flux like period of grappling like with the past and the future, like but there's been a lot of transplants from New York to Atlanta, and maybe from California too.
Too Short.
Yeah. So who came first, Eric Sermon or Too Short? Do you know?
I think Short was before
Okay.
Eric. Eric came in like 95. I think I remember Too Short. I remember seeing him in Greenbrier Mall when I was just moving to East Point in like 93.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, I think Short was there a little bit before. Eric was there. He had the rim shop.
Yeah.
And he had the studio in the back. That was before my time, but some of my friends from there will tell you that was popping. You had who else came down there? Pac was there for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he had family there, at least. But you know, you would run into a lot of people there. I mean, Raekwon moved there. I think Nas moved down there a little later on.
Right. And now, I mean, there's a lot more now. I mean,
yeah,
I know Diamond D lives down there.
Yeah.
My man Greg Nice lives down there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think there's a big. This is in Atlanta, but Marietta is where MF Doom was stationed.
That's who That was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Like, Mad Villain, the concept came out of Atlanta.
Really?
Yeah, Egon and my boy DJ John Doe.
Yes, shouts to John Doe.
Yeah, man.
And Eddie Meeks.
Yo, Southern Vanguard,
Yes,
my
dude.
dudes, man. I'm not a big podcast person, but I make a point to check for them all the time.
I love those guys.
Yeah, just because it's like their sense of humor and shit. Like, it just because I've known them forever, it's just good to see them doing this shit still.
Yeah, man.
Stanky, but yeah, like John told me the story. I don't want to like kind of switch up any facts too much, but I do know that like Doe had a heavy influence on that, and that's kind of how Stacey Epps got involved with the project.
Interesting, okay.
Because she was down there,
Right?
And yeah, it's like a lot of cool shit happens in Atlanta, and it's from a lot of transplants for sure. And even at this point, it's kind of full circle. Like Rico Wade is like my neighbor now and shit.
Wow.
And I just saw Ray Murray before I bounced, and we kind of chopped it up. I actually got a song that he remixed. That I did a song with my boy Big Vision and Corrupt called "Change Your Style." It's on my last album, Senior Dues.
Okay.
And Ray Murray remixed it, and it's just kind of funny. Like, I'm fucking rubbing shoulders with motherfuckers that kind of like gave me that spark in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
well, do you think because of the way like trap has become like this kind of pop entity that all the other creative, I guess, quote unquote hip hop artists or producers, hip hop is such a kind of a bland way to explain, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but just like maybe not necessarily they're non-trap artists that make beats and it's like hip hop and R&B is so fun.
kind of traditional sound.
Yeah, but even
for lack of a better word,
right. I know it's so hard to put these labels on this stuff.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is that with the bomb of trap of the last almost 10 years now, 5-10 years strong, did it push all these people kind of out around the rim so they kind of are like-minded, even though they might be from two different generations of that scene in a way?
I can see that because, I mean, like, for instance, like my boy Dylan just did an EP with Diamond D.
Okay.
Very dope. Black Tie Affair. I bought it. It's on my iTunes. You should check it out.
Dope.
My dude Dylan. Dillon. I'm giving him the bump.
Yeah, that's quite a plug.
The bump, yeah. And then Diamond D did an album with my dude Big Rhett. I think it's a lot easier to meet people that you used to maybe idolize now.
Right.
Because it's different. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's kind of like they say it's no country for old men. I hate that. I don't agree. I think what it really is, and this is not just an Atlanta thing, I think a lot of people in those positions to pump major music on a major scale, I think it's easier for them to tap new talent.
Right.
Because new talent has something to prove and they'll work for free.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't keep going to these legends and giving them the same shit you gave them off the last album.
Right.
They're going to be like, no, I'm worth more than that. I've made you millions of dollars. So I think, in a way, a lot of the legends get pushed out on a budget thing, like a strictly monetary thing. Like,
sure.
If we can take Lil or young so-and-so and make him a star and sign him to a 360 deal, hey,
right.
Better for us because the industry's already kind of crumbling, you know what I'm saying?
Sure. And a lot of those younger artists are a lot more thirsty to get put on,
exactly.
Too, because it's so much more visual and visceral on your phone, too.
Yeah, man.
You're like, damn, like, this kid, because they like the artists. I'm saying, I don't know if I'm getting older, but they feel like they're much, much younger, like 13 and shit, coming up with, and in a way that's great. I was young when I started too, so, and I know that you were as well, and there's something about that. It's a little different though, because I guess due to lack of technology, you had to be a little more inventive on how you connected with people.
Oh yeah, and I think I probably was a little immature when the internet was really taking over. I was kind of like trying to get my numbers up, and I don't think I think I probably put the cart before the horse, if I can like critique myself, because I really wanted to go hard and be heard and get my crew on and do blah blah blah. But I was willing to go on the trips. I was willing to live in LA without a bedroom. I was willing to make sacrifices, and I think that's kind of what carries people more than anything else. Like, you have to be willing to sacrifice and be kind of uncomfortable.
Right.
And I remember talking to people, like, there's a sister in Copenhagen that I know, and I was like, man, she promoted shows out there, and I was like, shit, how does one do that? And she brought up another artist that is blowing up still to this day, independently. She was like, this guy used to sleep on the floors in hotels and he used to just kind of like throw caution to the wind. You know, he wasn't waiting for the perfect opportunity. And I think a lot of people, a lot of youth today, they kind of want the perfect opportunity sometimes. So the ethic kind of gets lost a little bit. I think a lot of people, you know, they don't want to. Everybody wants to look really fly. Everybody's doing it for the gram. Everybody wants to do the Bow Wow challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's trying to look like they're doing bigger shit than they actually are. And they putting that before their craft, before their music.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, it's evident in the music because, I mean, the trap formula is you couldn't think of a more formulaic sound.
Yeah,
it's down to the ad libs.
Yeah,
people are biting the ad libs.
Yeah, it's everything step recorded. Not step, you know, for like, you know, everything's like quantized. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the drum programming. I mean, forget about it. For the last 5 years, it's been identical on every single song.
Yeah,
and shit, you know?
Yeah. You mean you could hear? I remember when we was like in high school, me and my homies used to, you know, since we didn't have smartphones and shit, we used to do shit like. We knew we were going to hear music playing far away. So from the bass line, we'd be like trying to figure out what song it was. Like that was a game to us. Like that sounds like, you know, UGK. Like, oh, that is, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like that shit, you know, you can't do that now, I don't think. Like a lot of shit, you just go like, that's a 808 clap and a lot of bass. I don't know what the fuck that is. It could be anything. 73 BPMs. That's like a million songs. Like,
yeah, and there's not to say there aren't gems in that. There are, no doubt.
Yeah.
Trust me. And I'm not a hater on that shit whatsoever. I love a lot of that stuff, but it is super formulaic. You know.
Yeah, and you know, people selling their personality.
Right.
You know, the music comes kind of second in a lot of the way.
Oh,
you know
for sure.
I mean? Like, you know, it's reality TV era right now too. Right. You know,
so what was the your like LA experience about? Because I like to go back just a little bit on the story of VJC too, because that's a group that I've always been a huge fan of, and there are guys that I consider my friends too. Mm-hmm. Some as like I consider them a great friend. Another slept on group of guys though. Yeah, was possibly a little bit ahead of their time or before their time, if you will.
I could say that.
As far as a collective,
yeah, that's real. And everybody was from somewhere else, and it was hard to pin us down. That might have been like part of the gift and the curse, you know. But I was going to LA since 2000 with, you know, X-Row when he was moving back to LA, and some ended up moving back to LA, and I would just go every year or two for a couple weeks, and around Christmas time or something like that, kick it with X-Row's family. Mm-hmm. We have, you know, friends out there from another group called Gershwin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, VLX. Right?
Yeah,
Omni.
Omni. Yeah, right. Omni's still pushing hard. Like we just missed each other. He was in Belgium, and I showed up like a couple of days later.
Oh,
it's just good to see people still pushing hard. But as far as LA, that's like the first time I really got to say, like, damn, I've DJ'd over here now. It's kind of like that moment where Tyson walked in. You know, I was DJing at certain spots with X-Row. X-Row was working for K-Day for a good period of time. So he always had his, you know, he's always in the right place at the right time. It's just a great place for music. Even before I lived there, it was always something to get into. I kind of sometimes, you know, I'm like, damn, I wonder what I'd be on if I just stayed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But, you know, it's some will tell me, the way some says it, you ain't missing shit. Just come out and do your thing. You know, it's the internet now. You can just always get your shine on anywhere.
You can pop in and out of places now a little bit more than moving and getting stationed there. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me, man. But it was good times, man. It definitely showed me that I can live outside of where I'm used to. And you know, I was working at the airport in Atlanta when I moved to LA. I got a job with the same company when I got to LA. So it was just smooth, man. I think it was just all kismet. And everything kind of went smoothly. Everything was real smooth, man. Just I was DJing at certain places where, you know, like marijuana clinics, or just like a lot of shit you just couldn't do nowhere else at the time, especially. You know, doing live broadcast performances with certain companies. I met Murs because he was fucking with a group from Atlanta called Supreme. And one of the guys in Supreme lived in East Point, right around the corner from me, so we all knew each other. You know, it's just you meet people. I was meeting people I grew up listening to. Prince Poe was living out there.
Right.
Yeah, he's real. You know, real humble cat, real chill people. I'm trying to remember who else was like. Actually, Stacey Epps was a big reason why I moved out there. To be honest with you, because she hit me up like, "Yo, you should just come out here." You know, I think she was going on tour, and she was like, "I could use a house guest to watch the crib," you know, and I ended up just getting staying. Just staying. My mom was still alive, and I knew I had somewhere to leave a lot of my records and shit.
Of course.
So I had the support system was there.
Did you guys record Strange Arrangement in L.A.?
We did,
okay.
in Palms at Malkovich's apartment.
Okay.
And that was like 2005. Yeah, that was before I lived there. I moved there the next year.
So that's, as far as that group goes, that's the only album you guys ever did, right?
Yeah, together.
You produced a lot of it, though, right?
A
chunk of it.
I did the title track, and I did a remix for the title track, and I think that was it.
Really?
I think that was it, yeah. It was pretty spread out, because we got so many producers at the helm.
So especially for people that are listening to this that might not really know the makeup of the group, because since there's only really one album.
Yeah.
Strange Arrangement is the album, and but it's like a group of basically there's a lot of producers that also rhyme.
Yeah.
So and it's I'm going to tell you who I think is in the group. If I miss anyone, then you fill it in for me, because this might help me educate people that aren't hip. So I'm hoping that I can kind of put some people on to folks that might have missed the material when it came out, because now it's like over a decade ago. About a decade ago.
It's a little bit longer. Yeah. So So what you got?
Yeah. So for the guys I identify with as far as Vinyl Junkie crew is obviously Some Kid.
Yep.
There's you and Dex. There's X-Man, producer.
Yep.
There's X-Row, who's also a producer, but he rhymes too, right?
Yeah, Mario rhymed too.
Mario rhymed too? Okay, cool. Pudge.
Yep.
And now I know I'm missing one other person. Right?
Well, you got DJ Two Tone Jones.
Okay.
DJ Rare Groove was original member and still a member. He's also Blueprints DJ.
Yep, that's right.
You got I said Two Tone Jones. I said Pud. Oh, you said Pud. I said Groove, and there's also Bad Touch.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then we've had other members kind of in and out. Amazon Nosdam, she's like on a couple tracks on that project.
Oh, Laced?
Yeah. She killed
song.
that shit.
Yeah.
Alliteration, like she went off on that shit.
Yeah.
And we've had homies and really close friends who haven't necessarily been in the recording with us, but always was a part of it. Like DJ Pillow, or you pretty much hit like everybody who's like been really consistent though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like some cats are past and present, but
were you guys doing shows and stuff like that in LA?
Yeah.
Was it a pretty prolific time for the group?
It was. We did a lot of gigs. Like we did some stuff in Long Beach. We was doing stuff. Me and DT was getting shows as clandestine. X-Row and X-Man had a group called McKinley Pros.
That's right. Yeah.
Some was doing a lot of, still is doing a lot of shit, and even with his band, he has the Milky Way now.
True. Yeah.
Everybody just kind of branched out. Two Tone Jones got the Shaolin Jazz thing. This is like a reoccurring like event, also album where they've mixed Blue Note with Wu-Tang joints, and he's taking that overseas. He's taking that to Ethiopia.
Wow.
I think he went to India with that, and yeah, man, that's pretty much everybody.
You remember this joint right here?
Yeah,
This was the listening party. This was a weird kind of compilation. There was one song that I contributed to it by someone that had absolutely nothing to do with the crew.
Yeah, I remember
Chris Lowe.
I remember that.
But this is another great catalog piece for the VJC.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing I always thought about with this particular group is that given the time that they were active and doing stuff, and the proximity of being in LA, doing stuff in Los Angeles, and that it's one big collective of guys that also had sub-factions of artists inside of it, not that long after the VJCs was had their few years of being super prolific. There's like another larger group of guys that kind of came out that was sort of similar, and that to me I always felt like maybe low key they were biting them and shit. I'm talking about Odd Future.
I figured
of course.
you was talking about
now. This is all my speculative. It's all relative to my opinion, so I'm not taking shots at anybody.
I hear you.
But I'm saying there's some great similarities between the two.
Yeah.
Do you think there was ever any kind of crossover where those dudes, because they're younger,
who
a couple years younger?
I think this is something I've thought to myself, and I've talked amongst some of the guys. I think Gershwin was probably more. I'm sure some of their big brothers or cousins was Gershwin fans.
Right.
Like I kind of even see because Gershwin they was a little more wild. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like in the vein of Odd Future.
Yeah, definitely.
Like them dudes was like the first people I knew personally who was like unsigned, but they was doing shows in Australia. They was touring. You know what I'm saying? They was plugged in. And with VJs, we was kind of insular. Like we just did it because we loved it. We never tried to like take product to labels and shit like that.
Right.
That wasn't really like. And X-Row as a leader of the group and a founder of the group, you know, that wasn't really like. I don't think that was his goal. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's more like a band of brothers type of thing. It seemed like it was a little more, like I can see that now the way you explain it. Mm-hmm. Everyone seems to like little on they're level-headed guys that like really have a love for the music too, and like I don't know though. There's some similarities with it being a large ensemble.
True, that's
in LA.
I see that too. But that's funny because I was talking to Malkovich and I was like, because I think he said he saw Tyler once, but I can't remember what. That was like the start of the conversation. But I was like, you know, man, like they always kind of reminded me of Gershwin, man. You know what I'm saying? Because like at a Gershwin show, them fools would stage dive and do all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't like a Vinyl Junkie show. You know what I mean? It was a little different vibe. And then again, you know, they're from LA. You know, all of them.
That is true.
So there's something to that home team, the home field advantage type shit. And I'm sure because they put a fucking mud hole in the underground scene as far as like putting their cassettes out. You know, Vocabulary and getting vinyl pressed up, Omni getting his shit pressed up, doing shit with like producers overseas like Grasshopper, or fucking with who's he fucking with Tricky, you know what I'm saying? Like them dudes, like to me, I was like, these motherfuckers are fucking insane, right? You know, just their work ethic, you know what I'm saying? And they just had like they felt real LA, you know what I mean? Like I would go to certain venues with them and I would see ciphers with Otherwise, and you know, they had a nice type of relationship with Fat Lip. And like just dudes that I really respected, you know what I mean? Dudes who kind of did the hopscotch between, you know, delicious vinyl, like you know, not mainstream, but just like household name damn near to straight underground shit. Right. Like they kind of towed that line before there was an internet and shit. You know what I mean?
It's funny because now it seems like in Atlanta that's almost that sort of sense is there where there's this as far as younger artists go too, they can flirt with this pop world of mega successful artists and stuff. Whereas, you know, in LA there's that temptation of Hollywood is always there, you know, and super celebrity kind of like access in a way. I guess in Atlanta, this is just me like, you know, riffing on this though. But,
no, you're right. No, I feel you. Because how can I put that? Cause like I was saying, like a lot of the check writers are gone. You know what I mean? Right. So it's a lot. It's really, if you really want to be popular in Atlanta, all you really got to do is show up to everything. Right. You know, and some people really do that. Like there's a couple people there that they just show up to every fucking thing. You know, even a dude like Four Eyes. Okay. He's one of my favorite MCs.
I'm not hip to him
ever. Okay, he was on first two Ludacris albums on the freestyle portions. Yep. He had, you know, bars on there. He was like disturbing the peace early, you know what I'm saying? But he's just one of the best MCs I've ever heard. Lyrics, I've been watching him all my life as a DJ since I was 15, and he would come to like, we tried to bring I'm not gonna say we tried, we brought Project Blow to Atlanta for a period because X-Row, that was his foundation as a DJ. So we had like freestyle, we was doing freestyle shit like events before that was a thing, like in Atlanta, and Four Eyes would be there. So, you know, when there was a battle, there was this venue called Somber Reptile. I think the name of the crew who put it together was called The Committee. Okay. And they had freestyle battles, and he won like the first one. He's just a sick freestyle artist, you know what I'm saying? But he can make great songs too. And you know, we still collaborate to this day. We got a song we just did on my homeboy's album this year. Mudfish just put an album out called Goldie Hawn Solo. And
I gotta check that.
Yeah, it's tight. It's got some good artists from Atlanta on there. But like Four Eyes, for example, like last year he had an event on Edgewood that I DJ'd for weekly, and then you know, that was like a summertime thing that we just tried to run and just kind of like, you know, give ourselves some shine. And but super humble cat, but like Ludacris is like his right hand. You know what I'm saying? Like they're both from Chicago originally. They've been rapping together since they was kids. They was in the group. Like you see, he'll post pictures of their first rap group, and they're like 10 or some shit. You know what I mean? But rapping is like water for him. You know, it's just all in him, in his DNA. And for him to have seen like that mountaintop, he's been there. He's had the deals, but he's still on the scene. Everybody know who he is. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I'm saying is like, if you're just consistent in Atlanta, like it's easy, and then you'll end up meeting the people that kind of paved the way, so to speak. Like another good example. I was at Dave West's album release party in Atlanta a couple years ago, and Tuami, you know, who's fucking with Fat Beats and House Shoes and shit, he had a beat set, and Andre 3000 was just there. And then I look to my right, and there's Pasta News. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, Pasta, like he lives in Atlanta.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Like shit like that. Like, and you know, they just together. You know, like it's not, and they seek out underground shit in Atlanta. Like, and 529 probably has like a capacity of like 150 people.
Yeah. No, I've been there. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people just know where to go. So it's Atlanta has that, like that charm of a still kind of small, sleepy at times place.
So what's the vibe there for you now? Like, where are you at with stuff?
Yeah. Just personally, I've plateaued.
How do you think?
I just think I've hit a ceiling there.
Because you were born and raised there, right?
I was raised there. I was born in North Carolina. I was born in Raleigh.
Okay, gotcha.
And but as far as whenever there's a write up about me in any publication in Atlanta, they're like hip hop. They saying shit like hip hop kingpin or ringleader, and you know, it kind of creeps me out a little bit, to be honest with you, because I feel like I haven't done nearly enough. But the perception that I'm getting lately is that like I'm that dude. You know what I mean? I don't even like saying shit like that, but I just feel like I have to live up to my own hype. You know?
Gotcha.
That's all. It just made the stakes higher for me. So coming off 5 countries last week or so, coming back into the States, like it was good for my spirit and just kind of like showing me that there's more ahead, you know?
Yeah.
And I needed that.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, so I want to talk about this tour too.
Yeah.
We just got back.
Yeah.
We're here in New York recording it, but so this is just like a brief stopover before you get back to Atlanta. So you got a couple shows, and you have a show here in New York. Right?
Yeah, I had one a couple of days ago at Bedvine, the brewery over there, where Pudge has his first Thursdays.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm doing Beat House this upcoming week.
Dope. Yeah. So I'd love to talk about this tour because I was, you hit me to the fact that you had just come from it, and it was with Cunning Linguists, right? They were headlining. Another group that's really put their time, their work into. So I peeped the routing out too. It looked great. It looked like it was a fun trip. I mean, it's a lot of France too, so that's great. Right? So what was was it your first time going out there, or? Yeah,
I've been to Oslo like 7 years ago. I went to their music festival and performed.
Cool.
But that was just that's the first and last time I was in Europe.
Oh, nice. Okay, so this was a pretty extensive. You said 5 weeks.
It was like about 4, like a month. Yeah, like we had like minimal days off. We probably had 3 days off. We did like 19 days.
How were you traveling? You were in a van?
Yeah, and we also. I'm trying to think now.
Flew a couple times. Obviously, you got to fly a few times.
Yeah, I think we flew like one other time, if I'm not mistaken. I might be tripping. That might not have happened. Now that I'm kind of confused, but we basically drove around everywhere.
Wow! So you see a lot.
Yeah, a lot of cows. And
right. A lot of fields and villages,
and graffiti in weird places and shit.
Right.
And art in weird places. France is beautiful, man. I definitely loved Marseille the most.
Nice, okay.
To be like on the Mediterranean and be that close to Africa was just really cool. You know, beautiful women, beautiful scenery, beach and streets, and it felt like it had every place was old, like the feeling. You know what I mean? Like they've been there like for a long time. But yeah, we went from France to the UK, Belgium, Switzerland, went to Zurich, and Germany. And I might have skipped one place.
How was the reception for you there?
Like, it was great, man. Because this is what I did. I DJ'd the whole night. I DJ'd Cunning Linguist set.
Really?
I DJ'd for Triz, another artist from Inland Empire in Cali, and of course myself. So
So you were on stage the whole show?
The whole night. My bladder was mad. I mean, like a lot. But, right. So, my set consists of MCing, body tricks and DJing and shit, juggling and shit. And, just that's basically the two elements that I brought out.
So are you going from, during your set, are you going from behind the turntables up to the front of the stage and back and doing some shit? Yeah. Are you rhyming and DJing at the same time? Or are you doing a little bit of here, a little bit there?
A little bit here and there. I had like some routines together, so I would like put the mic down and just go off for a little minute and then jump back into it. It was like a little language barrier and shit at certain points.
I'm sure.
So, you had to kind of like, Noah is good at this, from Cunnilingus. Like, he enunciates the fuck out of everything, you know what I'm saying? And then people respond accordingly. Like, when we went to the UK, it was kind of like relief because everybody knew what the fuck I was saying. Right. And that's when I started selling merch. Like, the first couple times, in the first couple cities in France, in Paris, I didn't move shit. And then the shows was good. People liked it. Yeah. And I'm seeing that people was following me online and shit and kind of following up later. Right. But when we got to the UK, that's when it started really. I think maybe that was a confidence booster because I was like, okay, they know what I'm saying here, and that's when that shit started kind of opening up. But,
it's got to register, language wise too.
Yeah, but it was dope though, man. That was the only time we really had off was in Paris. We did Paris 2 nights in back to back.
Dope.
And same venue. And
nice. So it must have been like a strong turnout to do 2 nights, right?
Yeah, it was dope. It was a lot of the shows were sold out. Nice. Like the majority of them were sold out. I got
to give it to those guys too. I don't know them personally, but I, obviously have been in this game long enough. I know them all in a way. So I've been peeping their game since they first started putting records out. And I used to write for many years. I wrote for Elemental magazine, obviously a product of Atlanta, and did many cover stories for them. But they were got a lot of coverage in that magazine early on and stuff.
Just having that foothold in the city.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And they they seem like they've always been pretty determined, organized, tenacious and shit.
Yeah, smart. They're smart as shit.
Cool.
Like, they know what they're doing. Like, right. And that was cool, you know what I mean? Like they say when you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Mm-hmm. Like this was totally the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? I was a sponge. We had a lot of fun, you know what I'm saying? It was fun first. That was dope. And then business, I learned a lot of business. And I learned a lot about just, because, last year I did a tour. Basically, I booked everything. That was all basically me, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And
so how did that work? You were doing the same kind of set where you're DJing and rhyming?
Yeah, I DJ'd and rhymed for everybody, except for the opening acts, of course. Right. And we didn't and that's the thing about Europe too, that Europe doesn't really do a lot of opening acts.
Like local openers.
Yeah,
right,
it's not very big there. It's not like the culture, I guess. And it's their early shows, like, we'd be on at like 8 and the curfew would be like midnight a lot of the times.
Oh, that can be nice in a way.
Oh yeah,
especially if it's a full room already, like on the early side. Yeah, that can be great.
Yeah, I wasn't performing for like the bartender, like people was there,
Right.
And that shit was really dope. And they love vinyl out there, so I brought vinyl of my shit. And the fact that you DJ, they love that shit. I had more people come up to me talking about my scratches and shit than anything, because I guess the language barrier than
of course
they was all about what you could do, what you showed them. And
that's how you should go back there as a DJ. I mean, really, to be able to toggle between the two is an invaluable resource. Not a lot of DJs can rhyme, and you've already proven yourself with Clandestine and with your solo shit too.
True.
As far as like a rhyming producer too, but to DJ it's a lane all in itself.
That's real. So. I thought about that too, because to be honest with you, man, just being in the States, DJing, I was kind of losing the gusto for it because. You know how it is in the States, man. If you got titties, you can be a DJ. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not about to go under the knife, so I was just like,
DJs are kind of like a dime a dozen in a way, and people are jaded here in many ways.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Sure. I am too to a degree too.
I come home and look at all my records and I be out and I see DJs with controllers and
right.
And I'm not knocking technology, man. I just think it's like, and I take pride in the shit because I teach at Scratch Academy in Atlanta. Right. So what we do, we always start people off with vinyl just to give them like that respect for
nice,
it.
Good.
But it's I know a lot of people who aren't DJs who DJ in Atlanta, and I'm not mad at them. And I just get out the way. You know what I'm saying? Like in a way, I don't want to ever be like. And I'm too young. I'm too young to be like curmudgeonly attacking hip hop.
Absolutely.
Nobody's old to where they're justified in that shit. I don't think so. Don't give a fuck who you are. You know what I mean? I think you just need to be good at what you do, show and prove, have a following, and work with that. I don't think you need to fight. It's too much of that shit already with hip hop. I think it's a lot of angst that's not really being used artistically. So
for sure.
So I kind of just dodged that, and that's when I started leaning more on MCing and shit, and actually being an artist. Because a lot of my career so far, I've been kind of in the background. Somewhat.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like producing, and I've engineered a lot of projects for other people. Mastering.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. A lot of, Mark Speck shit,
oh, dope. Yeah.
Shit. I did Pretty Weapons. I did some of the album that he did with Carnage, you know what I'm saying? And I've done mastering for Believe, you know what I'm saying? I've done stuff for YU, in DC, the 78ers album, and Godzilla, the Cats. And
do you record people too?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I can, and a lot of the people I end up doing that for, and at least recently, it's like cats that's local. Nobody's really, it ain't really like that. Like anybody on the level that I would fuck with on a song featuring, my other homies record them.
But you feel pretty confident as a mastering engineer?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, definitely. I've been doing that for probably 10 years.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's my shit too. I mean, it pays bills, and that's my thing.
Kind of there's a fine art to it if you really know how to do it properly.
Yeah, and I get repeat business, so I feel confident.
Nice.
But like I've been so kind of wearing a lot of hats and shit for so long, and even with Clandestine, I really the inception of that group was for me to be the producer and DT to rap.
Oh, interesting.
But we just had so much fun.
That's who that's who he's in BJC.
My
apologies. He's also in your group as well.
Exactly. I probably like put a check on his name because we mentioned Clandestine.
Right.
But yeah, DT is definitely official. And the Difference Machine is killing shit.
Dope.
Everywhere they're touring. They've been doing shit with Homeboy Sandman.
Oh, nice.
They did a tour with him. They did a tour with Dell. And they
cool.
was at High Road Day. I was at High Road Day with Cunning Linguist this year. And Difference Machine performed this year.
Oh, so you will DJ for them when they play as well?
That was the first time I DJed.
Oh, nice.
That was kind of like trying to just feel each other out before the tour.
Gotcha.
Cool. But Deacon is like, man, you and Cunning Linguist now, bro. You know what I'm saying? And
that's what's up.
Yeah, it's cool, man. There's some real talented motherfuckers. I always knew they was dope. And you know how you kind of like be doing your own thing and you don't always pay attention to people around you?
Right.
Like, them motherfuckers is dope, man. Natty is one of the illest MCs I've ever fucking been on stage with and heard, and just his cadence and shit. And Deacon, he's a soulful motherfucker. Like, he's from the church, and Noah is a beast on beats as well. And I've actually had like, not a crash course because I was there. I remember when Seasons came out with Master Ace. I remember all that shit. And actually, one of the members who used to rock with them, SOS, he was really good friends with a friend of mine, Zero Basement, who was an MC from a group called Chapter 13. And him and DT used to be roommates.
Okay.
So I remember like them talking about certain albums and Piece of Strange when that came together. I remember all those. I remember, I was there. I was at Georgia State DJing too for a while. Right. I was doing music direction there from like 04 to 05 before I came to Cali.
Okay, cool.
So I was getting records and I was playing them. I was just hip, but I was trying to get my foot in too. I was kind of shutting out a lot of music that normally I would listen to just so I can have my own sound. Kind of
course.
Not, subliminally just try to keep up with people and shit.
Right.
So I've always wore a lot of hats and had to split this duty. And that's the thing about Georgia State too. It was a great experience, but they really weren't very keen on you being a public figure with a radio show.
Right.
So I could never really I had to always keep my government name on the air and shit like that. And
really?
Yeah, it kind of put a wedge in my persona, you know what I'm saying? For at a crucial time, you know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Okay.
So I was never really full-fledged trying to be about Yamin. Now I am, you know what I mean? And I'm at a place now where a lot of my friends are either finding new things to do with themselves or quitting or whatever. And
sure, that happens.
Yeah,
especially if you stick with this as your life and your career long enough, you'll see people fall by the wayside. Or
do something better.
Yes, absolutely. Get a job, get a family, or any number of things.
Sure. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? and now it's just like I'm still on this shit. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta go for mine. That's something me and DT talk about a lot. You know, because we never had a problem with each other or nothing like that. I don't want it to sound like that.
Sure.
But I think we didn't know what to do next, and we was just like, fuck, like, all right, well, he's doing this difference machine thing. It's like a rock and roll fusion thing, and at the end of the day, when I see him as a front man of a group, I feel like it's a mission accomplished, because that's what I set out to do. I wanted him to be the MC, you know what I'm saying? So everybody got space to grow how they're supposed to grow. And I just think for a minute, Clandestine was just kind of like, we couldn't come up with no good ideas, you know what I'm saying? I think we was frustrated with our own growth personally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We was going through shit. My mom was going through crazy shit. My mom committed suicide in 2013.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's awful,
like,
man.
and I'm still unpacking. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I think I've been out of character in a few points in my life where normally I probably would have been more together.
Right.
And that fucked me for a while. And DT had some shit he was dealing with that wasn't. I ain't gonna categorize our traumas. But everybody goes through shit.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
And I think we're both stronger as artists now, and I would love to work with him some more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we talk all the time. That's my best friend. We kick it and don't even talk about music a lot of the time.
Right.
About us, we talk about music, but
it sounds like music for you is pretty much an all day thing. I mean, every day. Right?
Everything. I don't do shit else, bro. I was doing Heating in the Air for a while. I was at DeVry for a while. And I ran out of money, but I was at the top of my class. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't get no scholarships. I was fucking like, I think, man, I've tried to do a lot of other shit, and I do it well. But I just think whatever you want to call it, my fate or the Most High doesn't want. The Most High wants me right here in Park Slope at this moment.
Right.
I'm gonna leave here. I'm gonna fuck with Pudge at the studio,
nice.
And I'm gonna go back to fucking Europe in 2018, and I'm falling forward. You know what I mean? Like, it's dark as hell in front of me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely like, it's working out. And the more I claim it, the like, that's a lot of things too. Like, I know a lot of cats, they kind of like embarrassed to say they hip hop artists and shit. So they might just stop doing it because of that. They feel like they're getting too old or something. But I got more perspective now. I'd never go back to my 20s, dog.
Oh yeah,
never. Not even knowing what I know now. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, the future is always brighter to me, man. So
for sure.
I'm in a good place with everything.
So I like the sound of that. That sounds great, man. And there's a brand new thing that just came out, the Hotep, right? Or the Hot EP.
Yeah, the Hot EP.
Okay. I
did that shit on purpose. Because even as I'm dressed right here, people always like, these on some boho shit. He a fucking he an incense lavender, oil man or some shit. It's funny, when I was in high school, I got a superlative for like most talented.
Okay.
But there was another superlative that was like a joke going around town that not town, but around the school, that they made like a bunch of other categories for a bunch of people.
Okay.
So my category on like the unofficial superlative was like most likely to sell incense and shit. I had dreads and shit back then. So I'm used to being called a hotep. You know what I'm saying? Like, for whatever reason, people just throw that word out there. So I was like,
do you embrace that? Or are you like into like Egyptology and like?
I'm into a lot of shit. I'm into a lot of alternative history too, and that just makes motherfuckers think you have a tinfoil hat on. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they have been taught one thing all their life. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really. I think my open mindedness is often perceived as something else. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like. I'm a stranger in my own land, for the most part. I've never been like typical Atlanta guy to a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, people always like, where are you from? You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom's from Queens, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, interesting, okay.
My mom is she lived in Sunnyside, she lived in Westbury. Like, I even, I'm with her brother right now staying up here. They in Roosevelt. And the first time I ever scratched a record was in Hempstead. So
was it?
Yeah, my cousin told me.
Pretty much a New Yorker then.
Yeah, I ain't gonna say that. But
that's a piece of the puzzle.
It's a big piece. You know what I mean? So, and my mom hated me sounding like my friends. She hated me with the drawl and shit. She wasn't having it.
Oh, really?
Like, she was not having it. Like, she would put hands on me.
Really? Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom she's a sweetheart, man. Like, back then especially. But, she was not. She was like, no. You know what I'm saying? And
how much time did you stay in North Carolina? Did you live there at all? Or?
Till I was 4.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
I actually lived with a friend of our family. Her name was Mary Clark. I called her mom. When my mom came to get me, I was crying my ass off. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, Mom, you know what I'm saying?
Oh wow.
But and she passed away probably like 7 years ago.
Oh wow.
I saw her.
Did you remain close over the years?
Kinda. Like I really wish we would have stayed closer. She had heart surgery. She got a 19-year-old girl's heart.
Wow.
And she was in her 50s, and I thought, man, she's going to live forever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it didn't take after like a year or two or something, you know what I'm saying? Man. So, and my grandma told me that later, but her daughter, Mary's daughter, lives in Georgia, in Dallas, Georgia. I have yet to see her, but I'll call her and check on her, man, every once in a while. Like, she probably, you know, we'd walk right by each other if we was in person, you know what I'm saying?
Wow, interesting.
Like, you know, she would never recognize me probably because I was real, you know, I was a baby.
Yeah.
But,
that stuff really informs you later in life. You know, subliminally or subconsciously.
No doubt, man. But yeah, dog, like, where were we going with that? Oh, just the whole New York connection.
Well, yeah, and I'm just trying to get a sense, because you sort of were, you know, made mention of sort of being like a stranger in your own, like, city, I guess, if you will. Or
that's real shit. I remember.
I can dig it, but I mean, you know, that's got to come from somewhere, too.
Yeah, it's definitely just my upbringing, man. And then, you know, I was the only child, you know, so I used to always want my cousins around. You know, my big cousin was a DJ, and he lives in North Carolina now, but, like, you know, it was lame being at the house with my mom, you know what I'm saying, as a kid. You know, it was lame. I was a latchkey kid. I spent a lot of time by myself. We lived in the fucking projects, and before my mom like actually started like earning a lot, we moved away. But you know, I spent a lot of time by myself. All I really had was music, and I remember my uncle gave my mom a CD player. You know, when that shit was brand ass new, and he fucked around and left All For One by Brand Nubian in the player.
Wow!
So I was reciting that shit. I was reciting like 5% knowledge when I was like 7, not even knowing what the fuck I'm talking about.
That's incredible.
You know what I mean? Like that was my Bible, basically. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's such an amazing album too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I love. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. That's one of my favorite groups. I mean, I love Brand Nubian, and you can learn. I mean, especially when you're a child and you're very impressionable. There's those lyrics. You can take a lot away from that stuff. You can learn a lot from that. You know,
like Lord Jamar, he's you know, he's out there still. You know, the whole the Vlad thing. I think I said One For All is All For One. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine him being in my ear with no dad around.
Sure, man.
You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot of shit through hip hop, man. Like early, man. Like just how to carry yourself and shit like that. But of course, it's gonna be like, it's like putting on your dad's suit when you're a little kid. You know what I'm saying? You got to like grow into the shit.
Right.
So that's been me forever, and that's kind of been my focus, and I just was different than a lot of people around me because that's not what they was on, you know what I mean? Right. So so I'm embracing that shit now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure it was all for a reason, you know what I'm saying? Like, now it makes sense. When you a kid and it's growing pains and you trying to fit in and you don't want to go to prom and shit, it's different.
Right.
Because you like, man, you know, but now it's like, I think I was like, so like, I guess innocent, for lack of a better word. Motherfuckers really was giving me a lot of attention. Like, dudes would act like they didn't fuck with me, but they be checking out my Timberlands and shit. They be like talking shit about my clothes, but like they really was like, "Where'd you get that?" You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, there's little shit
maybe
like that.
A little low key envious or something like that.
Chicks want to know what's up with you. You mysterious, you know
right? Well, especially if you're like a younger guy in a sort of older scene too, and you're solo.
That's real.
And you're creative. I mean, that's something I experienced that too, because I started DJing and getting out there, even though it was a small college town. You know, and later too, always been a little younger than the people that I worked with, but being like a solo DJ guy that was opinionated with taste and style that you kind of figure out on your own. You know, I mean, people they'll act a certain way to you, and then especially when you're like, you know, 13, 14, 15 and shit.
Perfect. You know, I lived 2 blocks from the school, so everybody knew there was a DJ in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So I attracted some of the attention I didn't want. You know what I mean? And you know, when I graduated high school, I got a MPC 2000 XL. My mom actually got me one.
Nice.
And that just took me. I was really like in the crib then. I wasn't trying to do shit unless I was with X-Ro going to a club passing out records. I ain't have nothing to do with nobody my age. So there was times where we'd be at parties, house parties, and it's like, once again, I never fit in, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like 17 at a house party with people like, this motherfucker looks kind of young, you know what I mean? Like, but when I'm back at school, it's like, this motherfucker don't talk like us, or he don't listen to the music we listen to. So I was always just kind of in a different space, you know, and always getting like different looks and shit, you know what I mean? Right. So it kind of made me self-aware, which was probably like something, you know, it's awkward. You get used to it when you're older, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that can turn into some pretty amazing art too.
I think it helped out. You know, I think it helped out a lot because I was always against the grain. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of still that way now. You know what I mean? Like, I think back home, I've carved that niche for myself to where people, when I was like, people write about me in a certain way, just because I'm kind of like unabashedly like, I'm just doing me. Fuck what y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? And like the skin got thicker. You know what I mean? But you know, it's. And being an only child, you know, you ain't really had no big brothers or nobody to look out. You had to fight. You had to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, but my mom, she was always like making sure I was strong with whatever. You know, she taught me how to use condoms when I was like 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that, because she knew she couldn't raise me. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was always gonna be. I was always gonna be latchkey in it. You know, I was always gonna be. You know, she never gave me a curfew even when I was 13, 14. She was like, nah. And especially when I met X-Ro, she was like, I trust him. Y'all do what y'all do. You know what I mean? Go to California. Fuck it. You know? So, you know, it's kind of been like, it's been that way. It's been an adventure. Yeah.
So so this record that just came out,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Not in the end of September, I dropped it. And I just put cassettes out. Through my Bandcamp, I got cassettes for it, and I decided on cassettes because I knew I was going overseas and I wanted to carry something smaller.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
is it going to lead, because this is like an EP basically, right?
It is leading.
So does that? Okay, so I would love to hear about that before we wrap up.
Yeah,
too,
sure.
You know?
Yeah, real quick. So I was DJing for Sci-Hi the Prince for a while.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had a show in DC. The photographer who took shots that night, he found out about me. I was just DJing, but he found out I rap. And he's like, man, I think you'd sound good with my homeboy, Double O Schizo. Okay. But he didn't tell. At first, he just sent me beats. I thought he made them. And I was like, yo, these motherfuckers is crazy. He ended up doing the intro to Senior Dudes, my album, and then another song we got on there called Land of Passion. And then I was like, fuck, man, we got to work again. So Schizo was in Virginia. He's in Woodbridge. And
Woodbridge, where's that? In Northern Virginia?
Yeah, it's close to DC. It's not far from DC at all. Nice little suburb. So, you know, he started sending me beats. I'm like, man, all these beats are. He's one of them niggas. He's like Madlib, Dilla, just, you know. But he has his own style too, and he's just real versatile, and he has like, he just got that vibe to him. So we cut a lot of songs. Like since last October, we probably did like 25, 30 songs. Okay. So I took 5 of them. Put them on the EP, and because I just wanted to have something to push, and somebody called me a hotep recently, so I just was like, you know what, fuck, I'm calling this shit the hot EP, fuck y'all. And then, but the album we're going to actually do, it's called Phantom Feeling. Okay. And it's pretty much done, but he keeps sending me beats, man, so I'm going to have to keep cutting joints. But the concept of the album is, you know, Phantom Feeling being like if you lose a limb, you still feel the tingling sensation. Like say you lose your arm, you can still feel your fingers tingling. You know what I'm saying? So the concept for that was like during that period of time, I was dealing with loss of my mom. A lot of friends I lost due to either death or just, you know, just time ran out for us as friends. And I was like, you know, but you still gonna feel me. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're gonna see me more, if anything. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of like that. It was like a good album for only child. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can do that. So I was just kind of like, yeah, we're separated. My mom's gone. I still feel her in my life. You know what I'm saying? Certain people I know I'm not fucking with or ain't fucking with me, but I know you still feel me because it's like impossible not to. You know, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Right. So every concept is every song is about me having my personal space, but there still being some type of ethereal connection, more or less, whether it's like the song on the EP, the last song called Missing Me, which I'm about to put a video out for, that's going to be on Phantom Feeling too. And it's about a chick who stood me up for a date,
right.
and then she calls me up again like a year later, which really happened. And it's like, you cut me off, and but you still feeling me.
Right.
If you listen to all the lyrics, it's all the same concept. I got joints about my mom's death and reincarnation. I got joints about people. Me just wanting to be on it. I got a song where I'm writing about this dream I had where I was on a desert island. Favorite verse I probably ever wrote, the second verse, and this shit like that, man. It's just very. It's that lonely album. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. But I think I pulled it off really well. And Schizo is a beast. And with all my travels and shit, the touring and stuff, I ain't really been able to make beats how I want to make beats.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I initially, of course, knew you as a producer.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that now, as your career sort of evolves a little bit too, that you're, doing an album that someone else is producing it.
Yeah, and I feel like nobody could do it better than him. Nobody. Like. I couldn't pick nobody better. If I picked anybody else, it would be a political reason.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
So I fuck with him, man. His work ethic is ridiculous. He reminds me of a monk. You know those monks who do like those real intricate sand designs and then they just erase the shit?
Yeah.
That's him. Because all his beats are 2-track.
Ah, interesting.
He don't save shit. Like he don't save stems. And it's like everything is what it was, and it's beautiful. Like as it is.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, like me and my homie Rafiq and him grew up. They in a group together called Cult Fiction, the Cult Fiction.
Okay.
And me and Rafiq be like, kind of like plotting on him. Like, man, we're gonna get him into the new fucking millennium. We're gonna make him start saving stems and shit.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if I want to touch it, man, because this shit is just good how it is, man. It bangs. You know what I mean? He got the grit. He got some clean shit. He got the gritty shit.
Do you think the album will come out by the spring or summer?
I don't know.
So it's still like in the making right now.
Yeah, I could put it out, but there's some people of influence who've been trying to get him on wax.
Okay.
And his personality, I don't think he's really like. Not that he don't care, but I don't think it's really like his motivation. He just loves making music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So. As our relationship evolves, I think more opportunities will come. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Cool.
So that's all I can really say about it. But
I can't wait to hear that shit, man.
Yeah, I got a artist. His name is if you find him on Instagram, it's called Comic Engine Alex.
Okay.
He lives in Atlanta.
All right.
He has a whole comic line about a woman who has a missing arm, and he actually has crazy graphics that's based around Phantom Feelings.
Oh, dope.
I found him on happenstance. Like I put Phantom Feeling as a hashtag on one of my posts, and out of curiosity, I clicked it.
Right.
And I found him. He lives in Atlanta, man. So, like, certain shit is just coming together, falling forward.
You guys connected?
Yeah, we
cool.
met a couple times. Yeah, this was a pretty big art show in Atlanta not too long ago. A lot of booths, a lot of different artists selling their shit. And he had... Check him out.
Yeah, I will.
Just check him out. He has, it's right up the alley of the project. So... I'm sure it's gonna be really dope, whatever we come up with.
Dope.
And we hit it off. He fucks with my music, and so great things should be coming around.
Yeah, that's what's up. Well, one, man, I appreciate you traveling as far as you did to get here today, because I know you came along. It was a long journey just in New York.
Yeah, no sweat, man.
Yeah,
no sweat.
And it was dope. It was really great to talk to you, man. It was a great life story, because we never really sat and truly had a conversation like this.
Yeah, my first time, man.
Yeah, for sure. And it goes so far back, and I have such love for the VJC too. So it's great to get your own story too.
Word up.
Yeah, so
man, that's my inception, and you've been there for a long time. And I've watched you do awesome shit, and I just be like, damn, man, yeah. It's just people get in your life for the right reason. You know what I'm saying? And it's just dope to be around people such as yourself, man. You know
thank you so much. I appreciate that, and thank you for your time too,
Thanks.
man.
Thank you, brother.
All right, good looking out, man. Hey, that was my conversation with Yamin. Shout out to him. Thank you guys so much for your time. Make sure you check out that EP, the Hot EP, or the Hotep, however you choose to do it. Go back and listen to Strange Arrangement by the VJCs. Shout out to all of them. Please subscribe on iTunes. If you're on SoundCloud, repost it if you have an account. I'm at Twitter. Follow me at HouselessPod. Every episode is edited and engineered by CJ Stewart. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Please spread the word however you might. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. I'm going to play one more joint off this brand new EP just because it's fresh and new. I wanted to splash both of these out. There's a lot of great records that go back in his catalog, so please take some time and check it out. The Clandestine stuff is great, especially if you are just learning about his career and his music and his production and songs from this episode. All right, y'all. Thanks again so much, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.
First afternoon of the new moon. Never comes too fast, never too soon. I came to spread some love around like the susu, so it might be something that you probably wasn't used to. One time for my farm folks, the homie throws the gold flakes in the compost. The hay in the middle of the barn's dope. Fronto and cilantro, the combo. Yeah.
Out in my pocket, smells like the tropics. Got gas, I can fuel a rocket. Loud in my pocket, smells like the tropics. Got gas, I can fuel a rocket.
Yeah, my reflection is all smoke and mirrors, but nothing like an effect from a phony motion picture. I'm holy rolling like I'm quoting scripture. Hold your liquor, homie, cause what I'm holding would make that a potent mixture. And if you take a shot, I ain't about to post for pictures. Y'all just paparazzi, popping shit like a colon blister while I'm blowing concentric O's on the sofa with her golden soul sister. Backstage before the show in Denver.
Hey kid, walk straight, master your high.
If the bag you supply is some swag, it's denied. Dumping ash out the ride from the passenger side, feeling like Sammy Davis with his glass in my eye. Yeah, I'm Dr. Frankenstein with the blunt roaches. I can turn them to a mummy like Tutmosis, but this joint's so big it's about to bust open. I can't front, man, I love smoking, that's why I keep that
loud in my pocket. Smells like the tropics. Got gas,